Hi everyone, Emma here. I have some lovely information to give you, and it's about making a flat peyote bracelet. So we're going to complete this bracelet by adding the clasp. So there's a few things about the clasp that I wanted to let you know. So let's take a look at what I have to begin with. So this is just a very simple flat peyote. Let me fix the camera here. Flat peyote stitch, and let me give you, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So I used 14. I probably could have used 13 and did a odd count peyote. This is even count. And the reason being, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk about, so when you're doing your bracelet, you want to think about the size of your clasp, because you want it to kind of look like it fits exactly. Now, if I place it like this, then you can see how it sits in between the end by just one bead on, so it's a half a bead on each side. And let me show you, I've already added the clasp on the other side, and when I was stitching it, I had it set so that it was perfectly centered. But you know, as you start to stitch, because you're using these little loops, your thread wants to go a certain way. So I could have, started over and maybe start. So one of the tricks is I start from the middle, and that way it keeps it centered. But I started from the end, and of course it wanted to line it up exactly, which meant you were off by not even a full bead on the other side. But you know what? When you're wearing this, nobody's going to see that. So there's that. So the idea with this design is I took these Delica beads. Now these, I will post the link to the video unboxing of these beads. I did a big review of this seller on AliExpress, and these, let me take one of the colors. These came in these containers, and I can't remember the price. They were somewhere in the $2 range for these Delicas, and they are absolutely lovely. You can see how gorgeous this bracelet is. And they had so many, I ordered every color they had. They had so many colors that if you look, you can create some ombre style bracelets with it. So I just want to point out, the one thing that I found with this is because they had so many different colors, you got some colors. Now this looks like a nice light pale blue. When you set it next to this one in the bottle, you can see the color difference. But if you look on the bracelet, this was the white here, and then this is this blue. And at a distance, now on the camera you can kind of see the difference, but at a distance, when I'm looking at it, it's really hard to see the difference. And I kind of wanted to have more of a variation going through. So there's that. And that occurred again with these two colors. And you can tell these look really similar. Looking at it, I was like, okay, I'm going to create a really nice gradual change. But if you look here, so here's the pale turquoise, and here is the slightly darker turquoise, and then of course it jumps up to this blue. So the idea, how I created the gradual change in the color, I didn't use any pattern. I just did maybe 10 rows of one color, and then I took a pinch, and just a pinch of beads of this color and a pinch of the new color, mixed them together, and that created the gradual change. And then I did a few more, maybe not 10 whole rows, maybe six or seven rows to do the next color. and, you know, continued with that. So then when I was finished putting just these colors, I took a pinch of this color and mixed it with a pinch of this color, and that's what it created. Now, I did find this kind of gave me a few funky lines, but when you look at it at a distance, again, you're like, oh, that looks great. But I think I would have liked to have a little more speckled look with these, kind of like this side here. But I did find that the solid colors, the more prominent colors, you notice it more. And so you see it again in here. And then the middle color, you just create the solid color in the middle. And I actually let it go a bit so that I got some kind of variation. And then you just continue the same on the other side. So if you go from one side to the other, then you're going to go from a little pinch of this dark blue to this blue, create a few rows of the solid color, then a pinch of the others, and across. And that's how simple this bracelet is. You have to continually pay attention to what your length is so that it's going to fit your wrist with that, because easily you don't realize how many rows actually contributes to your bracelet unless you've been doing this for years. So I had to keep checking, but you know what? This turned out amazing, and this is a lovely design, summery kind of feel to it. Yeah, so that's that part of the bracelet. The other part is the clasp. So I really like these flat clasps, and I felt like this has kind of the sea theme colors, sea foam greens and stuff like that. So I wanted to create something like add to it with the clasp. So this clasp to me looks like waves, graphic waves. So I like it, and I could have easily added that and it would still look lovely. But I've been talking about using my patina from Vintage for a while, and I haven't been doing it. So I decided the other day to start doing some stuff with the patina. So I picked colors that I had in my bracelet and then thought, you know what, I'll do a few different colors and then decide which I want, and I will definitely use the one that I don't use in this one on something else. So these are the two colors that I had. This is verdigris. This is probably my favorite color. And then this one's called Marble. I'm a little annoyed with the names of the colors here. I find they're not always accurate to what they are. I would just call this white, but I understand they're trying to sell something that's kind of elegant and stuff like that. So that's why they come up with these names. And one of the reasons why I say that is because there's a few colors that I want that I'm struggling finding, because some of the stuff that I use for this, I actually do like painting rather than just covering the piece. So there's colors, like primary colors that I need, like red and yellow and stuff, but all their colors are variations on that. So when you're buying them, you're like, okay, I'll buy that. That's what it looks like, and you get it home, you're like, oh, that's not it. So so basically, this is so simple and so fast. I'm not going to do it today. I'm going to do a separate video on doing this patina for your different elements. I just took a cheap dollar store paintbrush, and you can see now you got to make sure that these are well mixed. So they do have a ball, you can hear it, but some of the more opaque paint settles in the bottom. So I got some, like they're lollipop sticks. You get them at the dollar store in the cooking section, and you get like 100 for $1 kind of thing. So I get those. I open this up, and I've learned to wear gloves always. I'm not going to do it right now, so you won't. Don't worry. And I just grab a pair of pliers, preferably a pair that has some rubberized so you don't um, damage your tip. So you can You can see how it wants to come out. You can just dip on a piece of cardboard or paper. Where's my... I would do it on something that is has a like a waxy component to it. So here's some labels that I use for my beads, and you can just put it on that. You don't need a lot. You need like 1 drop, and then you paint your piece and have this on a clean piece of paper. I just held this part down and painted that in one brush. It didn't take a lot. The paint kind of wants to go in the grooves and stay there, so it's not like super messy. I mean, I went a bit over on this side, but not a big deal. But to mix that stuff, you want to grab your tip and just kind of wiggle it out. This whole piece comes out about this much. Comes off, put that on a piece of paper, and then get your stick in there and just stir that bottom piece around and mix it in. So let me cover this before we get some on our work. So I did the 2 of them. So you can see I think under this one I did white, and then I covered it with the blue just to I was trying to get some different variations, and I think I used my vintage block to get the high points off, but it didn't quite do what I wanted, so I just covered it up. So you can see this would look really lovely as well. So I like to hide the holes. You're going to see that a lot in my applications. You can put them on like that. It's going to add a little bit to your bracelet, and you're going to see things. But and if you're really good at beading, you'll be able to do this like with little loops with your beads and stuff. I like to hide it so that this is what you see of your bracelet. So let's just move on from the patina. So stay tuned for that video. And I just wanted to quickly go through the different clasps. So this is the kind of clasp I like using for these. So we do have to add a jump ring and then some type of fastening clasp to this. This is more of like a connector. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to add this magnetic clasp. This bracelet fits me, and I would like a nicer clasp, but you know what? I'm finding it's super hard for me to put things on and off, so I'm going to stick with the magnetic for that. And these ones here are really nice. They're a little shinier than the regular. You can always paint these as well. So yeah, don't limit yourself. If you want to paint them white to go along, that would be lovely. So that was how that looked, and I just wanted to show you they have the smaller one, so just remember what you want to do, the size, and what your clasp is going to look like. So that's those there. The other option you have is one of these slide clasps, and these are great too because they do have a magnet at the end on each end, and this is what it would look like. So that fits, it fits the loops right there. And this is one of the things I don't like about this class is it fits the loop. So you might want to have your bracelet be wider so that it ends at the top of these little pieces. So maybe 1 on each side extra. So instead of 14, do a 16. And these come in all different sizes too. But I would still, you can attach it this way, but I would still conceal it. So there's that one. Then you can do some toggle clasps. These are, I've picked out my favorite ones. So this is one of my favorite. I ordered these probably 10 years ago, and I have a bunch of them, but they're slowly diminishing. And I've gone and checked on the price, and the price has gone up like crazy. These are really well done, super beautiful detail. It's lovely on the back side. This one has the loop underneath the dragonfly, and you can see when this sits together how beautiful it looks. So if you're going to do a toggle on this, you have to remember that your flat part, so you might want to put something like this on there first to stabilize it. I don't know, it might be a bit much. The other thing you can use is a slide clasp, and I apologize, I should have brought one out, and I think the reason I didn't was because my sizes weren't the same. Let me grab one here. So I think when I ordered these, because they come in multiple different sizes, I think what happened is when I ordered them, I didn't order all the sizes, because you'll see in a second how many sizes there are. It's ridiculous. This is my Clasp container with all kinds of lovelies. So these are the different sizes of the silver. So let's see. So that one's too big. And this one's too small. I'm pretty sure there's probably one in between, because that one's awfully close. So, and then there's these little ones as well. And there's a really big one. So these are great too for this type of design. So they have an open spot. Let me see, enlarge this. So one of the sides, caps, is open, and the other side you could open if you needed to, but one side's usually closed. And then there is a opening down the middle. And this one looks like it's open pretty well, but you can always take one of your flat nose pliers or any plier that's narrow enough to get in there and just slightly open it up to get over your beads. But you basically, so I would finish this off with some seed beads to fit in that slot, just to reinforce so that it's not just these sticking out beads that are holding your bracelet together. And then you just slide it in here. So I think it probably does need to be opened. Actually, this part looks like it needs to be popped up a bit. There. Okay. And then you just slide. Yeah, so this is what this does, okay? It's not going to go over this bead here. If it's going over this one, you can see there's a little divot here. So it's not going to go over that one. So you might want to open this up a bit, and then it'll slide over everything and fit nicely. And you can see there's a attachment there, so you can attach whatever closure you want. So jump ring and a lobster claw or magnetic or toggle, whatever, but this will kind of reinforce this end as well. So that was that one here, so put those aside. And then the last one I have is this one here, and I want to talk about, I didn't finish talking about the hummingbird or the dragonfly. So these toggle clasps, these are great for a bracelet like this, but you have to remember when you're attaching something, you want to, and I'm going to do some videos on attaching clasp, because I feel like there's not enough out there with just the clasp attachment. There might be videos where they show you how to make a bracelet and then you put a clasp on. I want to show you how to use your different clasps, because different clasps with different bracelets have different applications and ways to attach them. And I feel that, you know, you spent so much time on your bracelet, it's so beautiful, you don't want to end it with a lobster claw. Now, sometimes the lobster claw looks great and works and is perfectly fine, but I think you need, for myself anyway, I need to elevate it. And I have some beautiful components that I'm not sure how to use. And that's how this came about, was I was doing some pearl knotting and I needed to attach a clasp and I just had no idea where to put the string in the knots and stuff. So stay tuned. So of course this one's pretty basic. It would attach. Now you would probably want to put a strand attaching it, like a little triangle. But when you go to attach this, you have to make sure that you attach it this way. So you can either do this with a bunch of beads, and you can always like connect. Say you put a row of beads here and a row of beads there that attaches to your toggle. You can zip those up by attaching them, like just going through and weaving to get it one straight line. And that way, when you go through here, you have some space to pull through, to pull through your clasp. Because if you don't, like if it's attached there, that's never going to get through there. So hopefully that makes sense, but it'll make more sense when I show you that one. In the meantime, let's get started. So you can see I picked the white. I like to get you guys to pick for me, but we also want to do video start to finish at some point. So this would have been the color. And it still would have looked perfectly great. The other part to this I didn't mention was the gloss. So because the beads are glossy, I like to use the glossy finish. This I got on, I found it the cheapest was on Amazon for $10. And you can see this bottle, you don't need a lot. This is probably a 2-year-old bottle and I barely have used it. There's the line right here of how much I've used. So definitely you might want to go with even a smaller one. This is 2 fluid ounces, which doesn't sound like a lot, but look at how big 2 fluid ounces is. Like it fits in my hand. That's a big bottle. So like I said, I decided to continue on with the white. So I am going to attach this, and I like to conceal my clasp. And so I have tried to do it while I'm stringing the beads, and these are 15-0 full Labrador color beads. It just gives it a little pop of silver. Yeah, I like to weave everything together, but I found that these sticking out beads were popping out too much. So what I wanted to do was attach this, reinforce it, get all my beads nicely tight and secure together, and then string in these 15-0s. So I have my thread. Normally for something like this, putting a clasp, I would use Fireline or Dragon thread, something really strong. But since I already had my Nymo thread attached from doing the peyote, I decided to do it with that and reinforce it multiple times. So I don't know if you can really see, like I have a lot of threads there. So you can't, it still looks really nice. And again, you can always paint your flat side as well. Or you can paint the whole thing. So this one, there's a little, I think that may have come off when I was doing the gloss, but this one here has it covered. So you can always touch it up after, or you can sand it if you don't like it. You can do these in layers, do maybe inside the grooves. You might see it better on this one here. Inside these grooves, you can do one pass with, say, the blue, and then sand the top, and then cover it with the white, and it, just do like maybe take it and put it on your finger and dab it on the top, and then the inside, those little lines will be all blue and the top will be all white. So there's like so much stuff you can do with it, and they look amazing. And you're like, what store did you buy that from? From the Emma store. My sister, when she came to visit, she said, Your office looks like a store. Like, yep. Just don't say that to my wife. So I'm just gonna start. I am gonna start on the side, and I know I said to start in the middle to get it centered, but we're gonna try really hard to keep it centered. So, of course, my thread is at this outside bead. You might want to like just change this by going through a few and then coming out this one. But I think we can do it. So I just hold it like this and kind of eyeball where I want things to fit. So the thread's coming out here. I'm going to go into the first loop through the back. And I might go through this sticking out one and then angle it through that first one as well. And just do that one a few times and see if that does what I want it to do. There. So you see how it's separated a bit here? Not to worry, when we go back, once it's all secure, we're going to go through and tighten these guys. So now we're going to go around. I'm going to come through and I'm going to go through on the other side. This part here is just totally up to you how you want to thread. So I think I'm going to, actually I was going to go through the top, but I think that will pull the work down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this top bead from the bottom. I'm going to go through the loop. As you can see, I'm kind of in here. I hear noise and I'm concerned my wife just went out, and I think it could be the neighbors, but it could be the cat getting into something. Which he never does, but the lately he's been doing stupid things. Like I had some fire line that I had cut a wingspan of and didn't need it, so I rolled it up and put it in one of my little trays, and it must have got out on the floor. And last night when I was sitting in my office, I look over because I can hear him, and he's chewing on something. He was chewing on the fire line. I was like, oh my god, don't want to be going to the vets. Okay, so we've just attached to this. Let me tilt this a little better so that I don't go out of frame here. We'll move that out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to pull it up a bit so you can see the different. I think I figured out what the noise is. It's really windy out, and we have a side window that has lines that's probably popping back and forth. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in between the two loops from the back, like that. There. So there's my thread, and I'm going to go down through this stitch here. Move my thread over. So that looks good. So I think I might try and secure this one a few more times. So go through this one, through that loop, and that will pull it in like that. Go between the two loops and through that sticking out one. So right now it's loose and it's sitting at the bottom of those loops. When I tighten it, it's going to go like this. So let me see if I can hold this a different way. Okay, so now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down through this bottom bead here. And just that one. Like that. Okay, and I'm going to go through that second loop. Actually, I might go through the bottom, the back of it. There's an easy way to go through the back. So I'll just continue like this because I'm sure this is like just preference on how you do it. So I think I'm going to go through both now. There. So you see how it pops it up to the top. Okay, so now I think I might go through that again. Let me see where my thread is here. Actually, I could probably go through this one. Let me make sure it's still centered. So going through the third loop. And I'm going to go through those two beads again. So I might just go through here. That. And bring it through the two of them. I guess I didn't go through that one. I don't know. I thought I did. Maybe I moved my needle. So let's go through here. Through these two on an angle. Like that. And again, it loosens up. Let's tighten it up. Put it where you want it. Let it know who's boss. Yes, it's jewelry making. Okay, so I went through the loop. I'm going to pull that in. And I'm going to go around in between the two loops. Between the third and the fourth loop. Now I'm going to go through this one and through the loop. And let's do that one more time. I think I might. So I think when you do the bottom bead, it pulls it up. So I think we'll go through, and I'm going through the loop as well, and that will snug it up. And just watch, they get hooked on the other beads there. And it's hard to see when it's so light. I think that did it. You see how it pulls it right up? And let's take a look at the back. That's what it looks like on the back. I do this for my box clasp as well. Because you have this beautiful box clasp. Some of them have crystals on it. And then you see these loops between your bracelet. So that's how I get mine to be really nice. So this one's a little better centered. It's still not quite there, but you're never going to see that. Okay, so now we're at the second to last loop. I think I'm going to go through the back, which here this part's not attached, so I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to go down through this bead and up through this one. You could also do some rubbing of some silver on that as well. If you were doing a gold bracelet, you could add some gold. So there's lots of options. I'm going to go through that one more time. I feel like it's a bit unstable. Let's get down here, go through these, and I'm going to go around the edge of that loop. I feel like going through the loop made it a bit loose. So through here, like that. So now we're going to come through the loop. There, that. And let me see which is the best. I think we're going to grab hold of this one. there, and go through the final loop like that. And we're going to go between the two last ones. We're going to go through this sticking out, but also this one on an angle, like that. I think if I painted this white, it would look really amazing. Look totally awesome. So we're going to go through and we're going to do that again to secure the top and the bottom. Like that. Through here. Through these two on an angle. Like that. Okay, so we're coming through here. We're going to go through that final loop and we're going to secure the final bead through here, and you can do it all in one movement like that, and go through it again, unhook that, and make sure it's nice and tight. So now let's go through and just make sure all of these are nice and secure. So I'm going to weave up and down. So I just went through this one and that one. Now I'm going to go through this top one and down through the bottom one. And we might secure these two. So we'll just kind of squeezing them together. See if that works. Yeah, that looks fine. So now we're coming out of this one. We're going to go through the top one, the sticking out on an angle, and we're going to pick up the bottom one next to it. This actually looks pretty secure, so I don't know. Let's do it in two actions so we don't mess things up. If we can get the needle through. There we go. Went through both of them like that. Now, one of the things I noticed on the other side when I was doing this part of weaving back and forth is I was doing it, of course, it's the different angle. So my needle was going across here. Just be careful, your needle can actually scratch the finish off. Depending on the size needle, I guess. So let's sticking out and the one below it, like that. And if you see, see how this one looks like it's coming down? When we get to that point, we'll reinforce it back up. So let's, now the next one, through the two, like that. And initially I thought I would have too much thread, but I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking you need a fair amount to do this weaving through your clasp. I think that's part of the reason you don't see a lot of videos. They end up with, they want to show you how to do the bracelet, so the end part is an afterthought and they want to get through it quickly. So let's bring that up. I am going to go over to this one so these two don't separate. I find the end ones separate a lot. Just go through that one. And you can bring them together this way. So I'm going to go up through that one and it should tighten it. Yeah. And it also brought it up. So actually now we are ready to start adding our seed beads, our 50 no's. Because this is pretty secure. This is not going anywhere. You can do it some more if you want. Because we're doing a magnetic clasp, I think before this would break, your clasp would come undone. So let's grab some 50 no's. We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, there's definitely 7 there. So pick up a 15-0, they're super tiny. And you're just going to go through these guys. Now, if you want, you can go through this and then back up and down the clasp. So go through those. But I'm just going to add them and not worry. And this is basically like you're doing peyote stitch. Filling in the low points. Like that. You can see how pretty this ends up looking. So pick up a 15-0. We're going to put it in that spot there. So we're coming out of this bead. Let me enlarge this. These are super tiny. Okay. So we're coming out of this one. We're going to go into this one. So let's just get our needle in there. And this is the part where I might change the direction here because I don't want to scratch up this. So like that. So angle your needle and you can see how it's wanting to just run along there. So what you could do is do it that way over top the other bead. You might bend your needle a bit, but at least you're not scratching your lovely painting on your clasp. Look at that, so pretty. You can use 11-0 seed beads too. I just wanted the Delicas to be the hero of this bracelet, so I didn't want to put a big, large 11-0 like that. And another 15. They're very jumpy. They're so teeny tiny. Okay. This one's super tight. We did a good job on this one. Let me see if there's a different way to get this angle without I don't know if it's scratching it or not. I was going to let you know what needle I'm using, but I've purchased needles to do a review of needles. So that went quite a bit hard across this and it stayed. So that's really exciting to know that it didn't just scratch off. Yeah, so I purchased every type of needle there was, and I have them labeled and everything, but then like I'll use them for a project and then I'll set them aside. I have no idea which needles are which. I can kind of tell. I think this is a John James. I find the John James don't bend and they have a nice big hole. I have to say, even though the, what are these ones called? Tulips. Even though I love the tulips, they are so beautiful to work with. I find the John James I love because the big eye and they're nice and like they stay rigid. It drives me nuts when they get too bendy. So there is that. So let's, since we don't have to reinforce this at all, now we're just gonna hide our thread and create a knot. You don't have to create a knot. Here, let's just put this through a few beads on an angle. So we're coming out of the top bead, we're going into the bead right next to it. So it'll just create a bridge. You won't even see that bridge. Now this is getting naughty at the end here. All twisty. Let me untangle this. I'm gonna move my thread up a bit. There. Okay, so pull that tight. So to hide your thread, you just go into the knot or the bead next to the one you're coming out of. Which it might be hard to see. These beads are so light, but it's coming out of this bead. So we're going to go into the next one. Like this and do it on an angle. It'll come through 2 or 3 beads. I'm going to come out the end and I'm going to create a knot and then go in, and then you don't have to put a knot. You can weave back and forth a few times and you'll be fine, but I'm going to create a knot. So I'll just take my thread. I grab the bridge of thread from the next bead, and it doesn't really matter which way. I do twice. You don't need to. Once is enough for a knot. And I hang on to that area so that the knot doesn't slide up the thread. So you can barely, this thread's really thin, so you can barely see. I can't even see a knot anymore. Then I just go into the very next bead on an angle, go a few beads in, pull that, and nice and snug. So then I'm just going to go maybe up the other direction. So we're coming out of this bead, we're going to go into this one, and I'm just going to go on an angle like that. And that is it. We clip this. Just be careful when you're clipping not to clip your threads on the edge. I don't think I've done that yet, but there's always a first. Just like that. Put that aside. Oh my god, this is looking amazing. Look at this. Oh, this is amazing. So you can see the... Isn't that awesome? Okay, so jump rings and this. Move those out of the way. Let me see what I have for jump rings. I have some silver. I think these deserve a silver, but oh, these are nice. These are 18s. A little more substantial. 5mm 18s. I think that should work. Oh yeah, that's going to be perfect. And you can put a couple of links if you want. Don't be shy if you need. So here's the other thing with this. If this bracelet isn't long enough, you're like, oh, I didn't realize I should have made it longer, or you wanted it to just be this length. Because of the different design, you can see on my small hand, all you see is the blue. You don't see the white. So if you have like a 7.5-inch wrist, you'll see all this. But let's check on the mandrel to show you, give you an idea where your design is going to be. So this is a 7.5. So actually your design is still on the side, but this is what you have. So you can put an extender chain, or you can link a bunch of jump rings together, or a little piece of chain, and then your attachment. So don't forget there's options. So let's attach these guys. These will be, because they're 18 and they're small, they will be a little harder to open. Yeah, that's not too bad. So let's attach that and attach. And the magnetic clasps have these kind of little round balls on the end to go through, so you might need a little more space. So you might want to go to like a 7-inch clasp. I'm trying to get this. Here. Let me grab it here. There. Okay. And because it's magnetic, it's doing its little thing. And squeeze that together. Let's see what this looks like. That's pretty perfect. Okay, let's go to the other side. Get this one. So yeah, I might put a few links just to keep the magnet separate from this piece here. on there. And close that. So it's nice and closed. And perfect. Ta-da! So there is this lovely bracelet. Let me see how that looks. You see how easy it's actually a bit big for me, so I don't like wearing my bracelets this loose, so this will probably be something as a giveaway for sure. So I think what I'll do is put some extender chain on this so it can fit anybody. There we go. Ta-da! I hope you enjoyed that. I hope there was some information that you could use. And yeah, stay tuned for some more fun stuff. Take care, everybody. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.